Today we dive down on the 1.25 ounce scepter guinea from the island of St. Helena, a masterful approach to the crossroads of the past. This stunning coin was purchased at spot price from Atmex on a special sale recently, and I must say it is regal and stunning. St. Helena as a nation has been covered at length in previous videos on this channel, so I will spare you some of the history and culture that are accessories to the provenance of this coin. So let's go ahead and dive in. Why is this called a scepter guinea? Well, the term scepter guinea refers to a gold coin that was minted in England during the reign of King James I in the early 1600s. And here's what it means broken down. A scepter, as you see here, refers to the royal scepter, a symbol of monarchical power and authority. On this coin, the scepter appears behind the crowned arms of King James, as you can see. You would note that the scepters have a C, forming what I believe to be a cruciform scepter, which was used during the Carolingian age of King Charles. As you can see, these C's right here. That was used during King Charles II's reign. A guinea is a British gold coin first minted in 1663 during the reign of Charles II. However, the term guinea is sometimes used retroactively for earlier gold coins like those of James I because they were made of gold sourced from the Guinea region of West Africa. So a scepter guinea is a rare English gold coin from the early 1600s featuring a royal scepter on the design, symbolizing royal authority and often linked to early forms of the gold guinea coin. Collectors value these coins for their historical significance, rarity, and obviously gold content. But this one here is not gold. Why? Well, it's more about the name and tradition, not the metal. The term guinea, as we know, is referred to as a gold coin, and this one is silver. And that is the tradition we're carrying along, not the metal content. So these are commemorative bullion coins issued by St. Helena, often in partnership with private mints. In this case, we can see right there, the East India Company, designed to pay tribute to historical coinage, especially, in this case, the gold guinea coins. These are legal tender on the island, even though they're primarily sold to collectors and investors. This coin does have the privy mark, as we just talked about right there, for the East India Company. So where does the East India Company come in with the history of this island? Well, in 1659, the British East India Company officially colonized St. Helena, establishing it as a strategic supply station on the sea route between Europe and Asia. It was one of the first British overseas colonies, even before the British Crown formally governed many others. St. Helena became a vital mid-Atlantic stop for the East India Company ships trading between Britain, India, and the Far East. The island provided fresh water, food, and rest for sailors and repair for their ships, and it helped reduce, obviously, the mortality and delays caused by long voyages. The East India Company built fortifications, including the James Fort and High Knoll Fort, to defend against the Dutch, Portuguese, and French threats. The company maintained a garrison of troops and operated the island like a company town, even establishing laws, taxes, and courts. The East India Company imported slaves, indentured laborers, and settlers from Africa, Asia, and Europe to develop the island. They planted fruit trees, vegetables, and livestock to support trade and settlement. And by the 18th century, St. Helena had become a mini-colonial society under direct East India control. Obviously, one of the things to note is that in 1815, Napoleon was exiled here, and the British government took direct control over the island in 1834, ending the East India Company's sovereignty over this area. The strategic importance of the island as a political prison and a British imperial outpost made it too valuable to remain under private company control. The East India Company's impact is seen today, including architecture, legal structures, and even, obviously here, coin design. So we have 4 coat of arms as you see here. The first, which right here at the 12 o'clock position, that's England with the 3 lions. They colonized St. Helena in 1659 through the British East India Company, as we've noted, making it one of British's oldest overseas territories. It became a vital stopover, as we talked about, for all of those traveling ships. Obviously, it was fortified, and after Napoleon's exile, the British militarized the island heavily to prevent rescue attempts. Because, as we noticed, Napoleon, he was kind of a slippy guy and could get away. The next, which we see here in the 9 o'clock position, is Ireland. The Irish connection is often tied to indentured servants or soldiers who were sent to St. Helena during the British colonial rule. Some Irish were among the settlers, laborers, or soldiers that helped build and maintain the colony. And in fact, Irish names can be still found among island families. Next, let's go to right here in the 6 o'clock position. If I rotate, you can see it plain. Those are fleur-de-lis, which tells you this is France. So when we talk about France, Napoleon Bonaparte obviously is the most famous resident of St. Helena, as he was exiled by the British to the island from 1815 until his death in 1821. The French government purchased Longwood House, which was Napoleon's residence on the island, and it is still owned by France today. The French maintain a diplomatic and historical presence through caretaking this site. And our last right here, as you can see, that is Scotland. Many of the British troops and officials stationed on the island in the 18th and 19th century were, in fact, Scottish. Like the Irish, Scots also contributed to the military and colonial administration. The Scottish surnames are still common among descendants on the island. And now that you have seen this coin up close and you understand a bit more about the iconography, we can place it on the 60-point scale. So let's turn it over and look at that. When we look at the obverse, we are met with Her Late Majesty. This is a 2020 coin, so she was still living at the mintage of this coin. It is a fantastic specimen. This is the Ralph David Mackloff design of Her Majesty the Queen in profile laid upon a field of traditional pattern of the East India Company, whose names we find obviously invoked along the legend, along with the 1.25 pound designation. This is exactly the form I would hope would be the default setting for monarch-centered obverses, which we so often see. The pattern in the background is one that could shift to show native and historic relevant textiles or patterns for various nations of the Commonwealth, and it is a masterful representation of what can be achieved. I am loving everything about this obverse, and I will score it a 10. The reverse, which we've talked at length about, is where we must go next. We've already covered the amazing designs known as the scepter guinea with notable distinctions. Many of the gold guineas have one thing different in the middle. This image has an elephant with a castle or a stronghold on its back. This is the symbol of the Royal African Company, which set to establish the procurement of gold, ivory, and yes, people from forms of slavery. We see a lot of depth in this image as the scepters seem to rise above the coat of arms and the crowns which rise again above the East India Company's traditional pattern on the field. I love the privy mark seen at the 6 o'clock position, as well as this beautifully historic East India Company branding, which still makes amazing products today. Honestly, I love this coin as it merges history of so many into the island of St. Helena, reminding us that an island often forgot these days was of immeasurable importance when the nautical logistics ran the world. I scored a 10, which brings us to mintage. Oftentimes, great coins fall in mintage as they are mass-produced. We've seen titans like the Libertad and Maple meet their demise as they are minted in the millions. This coin has a somewhat similar fate. I cannot, as of yet, find a mintage on this coin. Odds are it's far less minted than world standards like the American Silver Eagle or Libertad. Being that, I do not have a number and I'm relegated to score it a 5. Cultural significance is where we turn our focus next. I always have to gauge the context of a coin in relation to the history and culture of the issuing nation. It is imperative in my mind that coins issued by a nation have some type of context of its past, present, or future in any coins it mints. This could be in many categories like flora, fauna, human accomplishments, or many other areas that invoke a response tying to the iconography of issuing nations. This coin, therefore, is in home run territory. The East India Company was crucial to the control and establishment of St. Helena. The monarchy is of extreme importance to this island. This is a reproduction on an existing theme of Baroque period coins and calls on the collective treaties of eras gone by. Simply put, this coin is as significant as any modern coin from a maritime nation could ask for. I scored a 10, but does that make it collectible? Well, collectability is our next category to talk about. I could use a little help in this area, as it seems to me to scream United Kingdom as a target demographic. This being said, I have many viewers who live across the pond and would love to get your feedback. Does this coin avoid VAT tax, as it is from East India Company there in England? Does it hold provenance within your nation? I would love to know what a coin like this means to you, being in the UK, in the comments. Objectively, I think it's amazing, but the history of the island of St. Helena is not a blockbuster event on the world scale. Its importance is giant, but its wow factor leads me to assume that many have no idea what this coin is when they look at it, which is really one of the reasons this channel exists, to show you the value beyond just the silver content. Because it is not a giant series with a cute animal on it, I think it does fall a little bit in collectability that is mostly, in my mind, due to casual observers being less knowledgeable on the issue. I think that if this were more known as a theme, it would score very high, but I think a 7 is where I must place it. And our last category is uniqueness. When nations abandon chasing themes that are popular and stick to themes that reflect their own mosaic of historic events, they can be nothing but unique. Every nation has a story worth learning about. It may be cool for Niue, an example, to put out a Superman coin, but it is nowhere near as cool, in my opinion, than having a coin from Niue that tells a story of a people I have never met. This coin has demonstrated modern reconstruction of a historical era gone by, and it has the utmost uniqueness. It also is a 1 1/4 ounce coin, which is rare on its merits. I scored a 10, bringing us to our final thoughts and score. The scepter guinea from St. Helena will bask in the elite status granted to it by its excellent design and execution of historical themes, as it scores a 52 out of 60. It is a coin surely welcome in all collections and a beacon of a bygone era. It is wonderfully and masterfully crafted and balanced, and I think it has earned a distinction of being one of the most beautiful representations of what can be done within the realm of monarch-based coins. It was an honor learning about this coin and bringing it to you today. I hope you've gained a new understanding of this coin, and as always, I hope that you remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.